And we'll get going. So, hi everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Angela Dorgan, and I'm the CEO of First Music Contact. First Music Contact is the resource and development organisation for the popular music sector in Ireland. And we have developed and deliver a suite of programs for musicians, as commercial musicians, as they develop their professional careers. This involves one-to-one free consultancies. It involves our regional development program, where we're 24 counties into doing a county by county needs analysis of musicians, and helping them work with their local arts offices to write a music plan for that county. So we're a substantial way through. If we haven't gotten to you yet and you're somewhere in Ireland that we haven't gotten to you yet, drop your arts office an email and we'll definitely be in touch with them. We also run breakingtunes.com, the online music portal where we drive both domestic and global music industry, as well as artists to find each other. It's what a lot of artists use as their electronic press kit. A lot of artists use it as their shop front, because you can add your Spotify and your Bandcamp and everything else in there as well. We also run Ireland's annual music industry showcase and conference, Ireland Music Week, where we have just received a record 840 applications for this year, where we showcase 50 of Ireland's most export-ready artists of that year. And those are selected by a panel of judges that we work with, usually about 35 global professionals and about 7 in Ireland, who help us select those 50 out of the 800 and odd this year. We then bring with funding, where our core funding comes from the Arts Council, and then our funding to bring in buyers from all over the world to Ireland Music Week, to go shopping, to get as many artists in that 50 as we can to the next step of their global career. And that's funded by Culture Ireland. And then in those 150 buyers that we bring in every year are about 14 other professional global events that we showcase that. And we do that under the moniker Music from Ireland. So we're the Irish Music Export Office. And as Music from Ireland, we founded and are a board member of EME, the European Music Exporters Exchange. A little bit about our background and basic income. When we, as a sector, lobbied to get a basic income pilot during COVID, I was the then chair of the National Campaign for the Arts. So I was on the task force that brought it about. And was delighted to see how and relieved to see how successful the pilot was. And then the current NCFA and a lot of resource organisations also then worked to lobby to keep and make it permanent. So props to our current minister, Minister O'Donovan, made basic income permanent in the budget last year. And what we have is this current basic income, where 2,000 artists will get €325 a week for 3 years. You will have the same responsibilities as those on the pilot, in that you will be required to answer research questions. And I think that is a great one. No more than our own funding, it's incredibly useful to hear feedback from people who are on a system or in receipt of funding, and what is working and not working, because that's how we can improve systems. So what we're doing today is going through the criteria that has just recently been laid out by the department. What we plan to do then is answer as much as we can, and for any nuances. And I think the benefit of, all of you being here today is that some of you might have questions that others didn't think about, and some of you might have questions we haven't thought about yet. So what we plan to do then is to collect anything we can't give you clarity on, and then have another webinar before you put in your application or during the application window time, so that we can address any of the queries you had, so that you're applying to the basic income for artists with full confidence. So if that's okay, we will kick on. So I'm just going to take if I think if my team, can you guys see this? I assume if you can see it, everybody else can
Yep,
see it.
all good.
Um, so I'm going to just jump straight down, and I'm sure you have all seen this. If you haven't, and this is your first time seeing it, Suzette's going to just cut and paste the link here and put it into the Q&A, so that you can get it there. But we will also send it out to everybody in the call later today or tomorrow morning with the video that we're recording today as well. So a couple of general things you should know about basic income. So the scheme is for professional practicing artists only. So you must be developing professional practice. Your applicants must be based in the Republic of Ireland at time of application. We've had a number of emails through from Northern Irish artists, and while a lot of organisations, including our own, work right across the 32 counties to qualify for basic income, um, and to qualify to go into the eventual draw, your practice has to be based in the Republic of Ireland at the time of application. Funding for 2,000 applicants is available. It's expected that the number of eligible applicants will exceed that number. Just to give you a heads up, 9.5, I think 9.5 or 10,000 applied artists from all across the genres and disciplines applied for the basic income pilot, and 2,000 were selected to receive it, and 1,000 were in the control group because it was a pilot. So it is important to manage expectations that eligibility is one step in the criteria. Eligibility does not guarantee the basic income. So just to make that point very clear from the get-go. Um, Applicants will be required to prove that their artistic practice is largely based in Ireland. And the how of this comes later, so we'll go through those criteria. Um, Applicants will be required to prove that it's based in Ireland. Applicants will need to provide 3 approved proofs for their professional artistic practice in order to demonstrate eligibility. So what we'll do in a minute is we'll go through the proofs, and we'll go through as they pertain to music, and give you the list of stuff we know that we've had cleared with the department before coming on this call, and give you the stuff that we know will work. And then if there are questions we can't answer, we'll, again, as I said, bring those to the department, and we'll be back in full time. The application opens on April 15th and closes on, let me just on May 12th. Now, I will say, and this is something that has happened to ourselves in applications for Ireland Music Week, the applications close at 5 p.m. on May 12th. So I know a lot of people think if a date is said in an application, you have till midnight that night. The department have put 5 p.m. on May 12th in there, so maybe put that in your calendar as a red letter day. We will probably do the next iteration of this, get the questions into the department, get them back out. We'll probably do one just after the May bank holiday. So again, that'll give you a good 10 days to bring up any further questions to us. So we'll just maybe test a date with you later in the chat, and let us know if that works. Annual audits will take place to reconfirm eligibility. So the department will look to reconfirm that your practice is still based in Ireland. And there is nuances to this, which I will come back to. Your practice needs to be based in Ireland, but some of your proofs can, for instance, be if you've been in a band that has showcased with us under Music from Ireland. So that activity took place off the island, and the showcase, it happened off the island, but it's a proof of practice, artistic practice. You're based largely in Ireland, but your proof can be you got funding to go to The Great Escape, or you got funding to go to Eurosonic, or you got funding. That in itself, that grant, is a proof of practice under the Irish banner. So I hope you appreciate the nuance there. The names of successful applicants will be published, which is common practice for the receipt of state funding. Now, this is slightly different to what happened in the pilot because it was a pilot and we were going into a lot of unknowns with the pilot, and it was felt that we needed to prove that it worked. And that there was a lot of grants went out at the time where people who did get grants during COVID got, some maybe social media backlash against those who didn't. So everybody agreed, or the department decided the last time not to list them. But if you've ever searched, funding on the Arts Council portal, you will always see that a list of people who receive funding from them every year are always listed. That will be a feature of basic income this year. Successful applicants will need to be tax cleared by revenue and must register as self-employed if they are not already, and provide an annual revenue form 11 to ensure tax compliance. If you're not already on My Revenue or My Rev, I think that's probably a good way to do it. It's very easy to go to Revenue on their website and find a Form 11. What we might do is go through that form in the next meeting. Or after you've gotten your eligibility criteria and stuff done, and we might do a run through of that when we get back together again. Successful applicants will be required to remain primarily based in the Republic of Ireland for the duration of the scheme. Now, some people have asked, does that mean I can't tour when I'm doing, if I get basic income? Absolutely not. But your residency, you're paying your tax in Ireland. So that's, you can leave the island, you can have your practice off the island, but you must remain primarily based in the Republic for the duration of, if you're successful. So what is the basic income from the arts? I've gone through the beginnings of kind of our involvement in the start of it, but the scheme objectives are for the artists, for the sector, and for the larger society and the public. And any of you who've received funding for anything till now will know that those are kind of the criteria always used in funding for the arts in Ireland. So the primary objective is to fund arts practice. And the secondary objective is that there is a vibrant and busy and structured sector around, whether that be music or theatre or performing arts or dance or literature, whatever it is, that there's a sector around it in which you can develop your practice. And then society and the public are audiences, so that the funding for you to make art has a larger impact on society, in that you might write an album or write a book or write a play or write a screenplay. And as we did in our Hearts and Minds campaign during COVID, I think Ireland gets that more than anybody, especially post-COVID, that if there's no music, no theatre, no books and no films, there really isn't any point. So those are the context in which this money is being given out. So for the artists, it's to incentivize the development and growth of your professional creative practice through self-employment, to counter the earnings instability and precarious nature of working in the arts and the detrimental effect it has on artists' mental health, and to foster artists' own agency and safeguarding freedom of expression. And I think that third one is worth really honing in on, because that 2 and 3 there were the ones that we made the music argument on when we first started to develop the lobbying for basic income. And our thought was, yes, an artist can earn funds when they release an EP or release an album or go on tour, but all of the work they've done to create the music and write the lyrics and come together and rehearse and, work and work and work on that is then considered free. And we just wanted, and the same for a visual artist or the same for someone who's writing a book. You're doing all of this phenomenal work and you're not getting paid for it. And to us, that was the basis of our argument. And also that if you take away the precarious nature of if you're trying to really pursue a professional music career and you then have to work other jobs to pay your bills, then you're taking away from um your time at your craft. But also it can lead, if you're just desperate for that one big deal to get you started on your I suppose commercial ambition for your creative ability, it can then put you in a situation where you owe a label money or you owe a manager money. And we felt that basic income was a way to give individual artists or a bunch of people in a band together more agency to make the decisions that they want to make for their career, but also at the pace they want to make it. So that's the context behind why basic income. Um, Also for the sector, it's really there are far too many amazing artists who just can't afford to hold on without making any money. So we lose so much talent from our sector. Um, and also in the sector, it takes away the more people who leave our sector, the less collaboration happens. The less people buy guitars, the less people, if people leave, all parts of the industry then will suffer. And society and the public, I think, to support social cohesion, societal well-being, um, by creating more opportunities for citizens to engage in the arts and to offer a larger selection of artworks and performance to enjoy, to recognise the contribution of artists to a pluralistic society and their contribution to the vibrancy of communities across the nation. I mean, you will get no argument to that here. I feel like the most important people in society are our artists, because you are the people who help us interpret and um, interrogate and investigate and inhale. And it's you opening your chest bones allows us to feel human and open our chest bones and have that interaction with you at a gig, listening to your album, whatever it is. So the contributions you make to society are immeasurable, and those are all the contexts that have come together to make us the first country in the world. I know it's not ideal, it's only 2000. We would love if it was everybody. We think it will get to everybody. I think the more this goes well, the more it will go well. Um, and I'm personally looking forward to the day where, I have a musician in here for a meeting and, I'm like, are you a member of IMRO? Are you a member of RAP? Are you getting basic income? And it will be yes, 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 automatically for all three. Um, who should apply for the basic income for the arts? Basic income for the arts, or BIA, is only for professional artists who can demonstrate an active creative practice and whose practice is predominantly based in Ireland. Eligibility criteria will go through, but I suppose this is in a direct response to when we were first lobbying for this, a lot of the feedback was, well, anybody can pick up a guitar and anybody. And I suppose what we were saying is it's the professional artists have who are creating their own, for us, just music. I'm not going to talk about other sectors because there are nuances, but who are creating music, who are performing live, who are recording, who are releasing, or who are building up to get there and doing it professionally and dedicating themselves to it, with a plan for development and a plan for growth, and are actively engaged with us in the talent development pipeline that we have. The fact that that is your plan means this is for you, or you're a professionalizing artist, that you want at some stage for your only activity to be your art. It's back to, you have an artistic ability, if you are developing a commercial ambition for that, then you are a professional artist, as far as I'm concerned. And then there are criteria of how you demonstrate that back to the department. Um, a couple of things to know before you apply. You should be aware that the applications and proofs of eligibility will be shared with us. So, say if you email, and we'll go through what emails to send your request to for us towards the end. But if you go through the criteria and say we're on Breaking Tunes, but you haven't put in your Breaking Tunes link, or you say, um, you could say, oh yeah, we played Ireland Music Week, here's a letter. The department will check that with us. And, I don't know what, they can go on Breaking Tunes and check your Breaking Tunes profile. They can just click on it and see if it's a live profile. But they will come back to us and other resource and membership organizations like IMRO to check that you are in fact a member. So that's what just they're letting you know, that proofs of eligibility will be shared with just Irish arts resource organisations, and that will be over the duration of the 3 years. Again, making the first point very clear, the scheme has limited funding, so not everybody who is deemed eligible will then get it. Proofs of eligibility with an application may be verified with the relevant, again, that's the same point really. So the applicant's identity may be shared with any organisation from which they've demonstrated proof. So that could be from IMRO, it could be from RAP, it could be from us, it could be from the Arts Council if you're submitting an agility grant, it could be from an arts office if you're submitting a local grant. All of those that you submit for, they will or they can, they're asking you, they're demonstrating that they will from time to time double check that eligibility with the relevant organisation that you've named. And then just for any of you who were on the pilot, you can apply and you are eligible for 2026 to 29. But if you get 26 to 29, you can't then apply from 30 to 34 or 31. I'm not sure the next dates, but I think it's 30 to 33. But you can apply. The pilot was a pilot. This is permanent basic income now, so everyone can apply to be eligible now. But if you get selected for the next 3 years, you can only receive it as they've designed it now. You can only receive it once every 6 years, if that makes sense. I'll come back to that if it's not clear. So who is eligible? An artist with a professional artistic practice who's based in the Republic of Ireland, has evidence of their creative practice being primarily based in Ireland, or has recently graduated from a college. Now, depending on how many of you are students will go into the college a bit, you have to be on a course from level 8 or above, or about to graduate from a course level 8 or above, in our situation in music. So we can come back to that if there's any confusion. Who's not eligible to apply? Applicants who can't demonstrate they have any active professional artistic practice. So you're either an amateur or you're in a covers band, or you want to become an artist, but you kind of haven't done anything. You haven't recorded anything yet, you haven't written anything yet, you haven't formed a band yet. Anyone who's in Éisteanna and are in receipt of a CNUAS. So Éisteanna is an Arts Council funded organisation that recognises professionals in all and recognises professionals of excellence in all of the genres across the arts, and you were nominated from within Éisteanna. So if you are in Éisteanna, you already get a yearly payment. So I think that might be considered double dipping, maybe, but that is definitely a criteria. Artists that aren't based in the Republic of Ireland at the time of application and for the duration of the payment. If you are in a band and you've moved to London, or you've moved to Paris, or you've moved to New York, even though you're Irish, you can't apply for this. If you're going to be in that country for the next 3 years, you can't apply for this. You have to be based in Ireland for the duration of the pilot, because again, we'll come back to, you will be paying tax um, on earnings after the basic income. Um, Artists whose practice is not primarily based in Ireland, and those in full-time education. So full-time students are those who will be engaged in full-time study during. So if you're a graduate and you're graduating from a music course that's level 8 or above, you can apply. You may struggle with, oh, I don't have any proof of artistic practice yet, but I have just done I've just graduated in, a degree in harping, and or a degree in songwriting, and your qualification is level 8 or above, then um, you can, but not if you're currently at the time of this application, in full-time education. Um, the recent, again, I've just jumped ahead here. This does cover artists who've recently graduated but cannot yet demonstrate their professional career. Applications under the stream must certify that they intend to have a professional practice in the future. So again, if you have plans, or you can demonstrate that you've joined IMRO at least, or you've put up, something on, you've put a profile on Breaking Tunes. Also, just to make you aware, we've said it earlier, there will be research as a part of this. Um, the audit, as part of the VIA scheme, when applying for the scheme, applicants are required to upload evidence of a practice. Um, Again, this is just repeating and repeating. They will check for AI, filling out the application, evidence of the use of AI, your application will be ineligible. And this is just, I think, them just setting out their own terms and conditions. The department reserves the right to contact any, again, just repeating what we've gone through. So you must have, that's just again, overviewing it. You must have an active arts practice, be 18 years old. Sorry, we hadn't mentioned that yet. You must be 18 years or older. Be able to provide evidence of your career in the arts, be primarily based in the Republic, be tax compliant, be willing to complete the surveys, and agree to comply to the verification and annual re-verification if you're selected to be a recipient. At least two proofs of eligibility. You must have at least two proofs of eligibility from activity in the Republic to prove that your practice is based here. 3 proofs of eligibility in total. So your eligibility for Ireland could be a letter from, or a listing for a recent gig or an upcoming gig in your town, or in your anywhere around Ireland. You could, a member of IMRO, or an Irish member of IMRO. Again, Breaking Tunes is only in Ireland, so your Breaking Tunes profile link. I'll go through Breaking Tunes in a second. I did have a question in with the department. They didn't come back to me in time, so I'm going to resubmit it as part of our questions coming out of this meeting. But I'll come back to you there in a second. You must have an operational email, an operational bank account, and an operational phone number. If you do get selected, the department will conduct a prepayment evidence check with you. So the overviews then, sorry, I've just jumped there. Can I just stress test, Suzette, what are questions being covered there? Is anything specifically coming?
Some questions, yes. I think, yeah, we can. I don't know if you want to jump into any of them now,
Maybe
or
one
if
or
you.
two now if you think I could answer them. Yeah.
I could probably summarize one or two, but just regarding PAYE and being, there's a couple of questions about PAYE. Can you be in full-time employment? Do you have to register as self-employed before? So there's a lot of similar questions, which I'm making a note of any of these in case we can't answer them live, and then we can obviously submit to the department and cover in the next seminar.
Yeah.
In terms of the proof there, so someone asked, so sending IMRO membership and IMRO royalties, does that count as two proofs or as one?
So one is member of an organization and the other is proof of payment. I would have thought, and that was one of my questions to the department. So what I was doing was sense checking the answers I was going to give you, thinking, checking if I was right or not. But I think there are so many other resource organizations also holding webinars for their sector, that they may not have time to come back. But I think membership of IMRO is proof of a membership of a relevant organization, and proof of royalties could be a proof of income. That's the answer I would have given you, and that's the answer I was trying to check. But we might, Suzette, put that in as, or as I say, we're going to come back to you all with all of these answers.
Yeah,
Um,
no problem.
but I would think it's either that those would be two. There was a question came in as well from somebody who was seeing if the selection of, they had been selected for an artist in residence program in France. They were primarily based here and were going to do the residency there, and we're wondering if that letter would be proof of practice, and not proof of an organization. And I think that would be very similar to those of you who, so in terms of what FMC can qualify you for, um, if you have a Breaking Tunes profile, that is a qualifier, that's one. If you've ever played Ireland Music Week, that's a qualifier, that's number two. And if you've received funding, and this is under the income bit, if you've received funding from us under the Music from Ireland initiative, so Culture Ireland money comes to us or through us to you. So if you've ever done been funded to go to Eurosonic or Subset West or Primavera or the Great Escape with us, we can say that in a letter, and we've run the letter by them and they're okay with it. So what we will do will be, you'll email us and say we need that as proof of payment for our professionalism, our professional practice. Um, and and I think that artist in residence question falls under the same. So your artistic activity is happening off the island, but you're based here. So as Music from Ireland is the same, that's what I would be basing that on. So I would say yes to those kind of situations. If you're based in France, and it's the other way around, I think you might have an issue. If you're not based here, that is one of the, if you're not based mostly here, which I think means to be paying your tax here, then that's where the distinction happens. Are there any other questions there, Suzette, that I mightn't have covered yet?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a lot around the PRSI. I think those are queries we'll probably need to check with the department because they're very specific. There's questions around if you're on job seekers, if you're on disability, is there, are they still able to apply? And there's also one regarding, because obviously there's a cap for the graduate stream, isn't that right? There's 100 cap. So if you were to be eligible for both, which one should you apply for? Presumably, should they apply for like the main one or
So
the graduate?
I think everyone applies, and then you are deemed eligible or ineligible. And then it's after that. So then the selection of the 2000 is then weighted. So they weighted gender, they weighted across the depending, say, so for instance, the pilot. 713 visual artists were funded and 518 musicians were. And that reflected the volume of applicants from both those sectors, and then other sectors were smaller, including the graduate. So the eligibility and selection in that situation are utterly separate. So the waiting for, so it's not an either or. You go in and you select what you're applying under, and then you are eligible or ineligible, and then it's weighted in the breakdown, if that makes sense. So I just jumped down and I can't find. Oh, here we are. So we'll just now go through the active practice and the submission overview. So what should an applicant do now? So it opens on the 15th. What you should do now is register on the or what you should do when it opens is register on the portal, complete all the application form information, upload your proofs, complete the survey on aspects of practice and life, including financial and time use, and then consent to the terms and conditions. What they do say further down is there is the opportunity, I think, it will be possible to save and return to the application form and survey. So I would say have a read through it first, see if anything's come up that we won't cover today, and then maybe go back to it. But I would read it through, maybe put in your basic information, then save, and you can return to it to fill it out before you submit ahead of the May 12th deadline. We'll strongly advise that you begin gathering your proofs of eligibility information, which will support the completion of your survey. So again, do a bit of work on what we're doing here today. Nominate the 3 proofs that you're going to collect, get them, be sure you have them on your desktop, and then fill in the application. So you're ready to go with all proofs and everything's as it should be. Details of proofs you should gather now. So these are we'll go through, I think if it's okay with everybody, you might just give us a thumbs up. We'll go through the eligibility first, and then if we have time, we might run through the sample application survey together. Are people okay with that, Suzette? Is that a thumbs
There's
up?
a lot of questions coming in, so
Okay.
I'm like, I'll copy over what we can't cover, and then we'll come back because obviously
Yeah.
we're planning on
Yeah.
holding another
We'll just
session.
go through the criteria now, and I can come back to the questions.
Yeah.
The evidence of eligibility. So here's our recently graduated applicants. They're required to supply one piece of supporting evidence only. It's a separate page and tab on the application form, which they will use to do this, and it's clearly marked. The evidence must be. So these are to graduates only from a relevant institution showing that you graduated either last year or the year before, so within the last 2 years, and that the 3rd level qualification you received is a level 8 and above only for a practice-based course. So a question that came into us before this is from somebody who is a musician but did a music industry course, and that wasn't for their practice. You absolutely could argue that having that information helps your practice, and I would agree with that. But the qualifying criteria for this particular for basic income is that the qualification needs to be in practice. So it's musicianship, it's if it's for songwriting, if it's a creative writing course, if it's a drum lesson or a drum degree, if it's, if you've been to the name of that college, Jazz College, escapes me right now. But if it's that, if you did the world music course in Limerick, any course that is related to your practice, your artistic practice output. All other applicants are required to upload. So that's recently graduated applicants. You need one just one qualifier, and it must be from 24 or 25. All other applicants are required to upload evidence of their active creative practice as set out below. They will select and upload this under the standard tab on the application form. Applicants must be able to provide 3 pieces of evidence and proof, at least 2 from an Irish organisation or grant body or representative body. And please note that by providing proofs, the department will consult the relevant organisation to confirm. Any incorrect information will result in your application being deemed ineligible. So again, check and recheck what you're uploading, because if you upload and submit the wrong ones, that's it. It's gone and you might be ineligible. The list of proofs and evidences which will be accepted: evidence of practice in the categories of income, active practice, and membership of a represented organisation are included. You must upload any 3. Applicants who provide fewer than 3 will be considered ineligible. So if you're anyone other than a student, you're looking at 3. You have to upload 3. So if on the day you filled everything out and you've uploaded 2 documents, you're a document short. At least 2 items must be from Irish organisations or funder, etc., as evidence to evidence an active practice based in Ireland. Multiple items under categories where you may have more than 1 award, commission, publication can be accepted. So say if you have gotten an agility grant and a music bursary in the same year, or you've gotten an agility grant and funded to go to Eurosonic in the same year, you can upload both of them. Multiple items, blah, 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 and also say if you've gotten 3 different bursaries or project awards over the last 2 years, or from the last 3 years, sorry, you can upload them as well. Those are all that you need. Gather your proofs now, well in advance of the application window, and gather them in order of what's listed below. So, income. Have you received a bursary, a grant, a project award, a recording bursary, an instrument bursary, a local authority bursary for your practice? If you're applying under music, a bursary for another arts practice, you could be a multidisciplinary artist. So then if that is a category, we'll look through the categories now. If that's a category, then that's the one you select if your proofs are indicating a multidisciplinary practice. Just make sure that any evidence you upload is related to the profile you've given them of yourself. Here we are, proof of local authority arts office funding for your practice for the last 3 years. This can include a bursary, a project grant, a commission award, a percentage for art award, a residency. If a music generation, as a music educator or a mentorship, if you've provided training on a music generation course, that's also considered income. Proof that you are a member of ACE-Dón. So active, we're then jumping into active practice here. If you're a member of ACE-Dón, that can count for your evidence of active practice. Again, on income, proof of public funding for your creative practice from the last 3 years. So Culture Ireland, Creative Ireland, Screen Ireland, an Arts Council Agility Award, an Arts and Disability Connects Award, an Arts and Health Award, an Artist and Community Award, and multiple items will be accepted for up to 3 different awards. So say if you've gotten, say there's Culture Ireland. So by Culture Ireland, in our case, they would mean Music from Ireland. If you're a jazz musician and you got funded to go to Jazz Ahead, same thing. If you're a folk musician and you were funded to go to Folk Alliance, that would count as well. So if you got an agility award and you were maybe did something with Create, and you did maybe a community workshop in songwriting, and you got an agility grant, those are your 3 proofs of income. Proof of Public Art Commission for the last 3 years. Your active practice then. So for musicians, do you feature on the Breaking Tunes website? So you can go today and create, if you haven't, if you're in music and you are active, I'm assuming you're on Breaking Tunes. Most artists are. What I would say, and again, it's a part of the question that we put in, the questions we put in this morning, and I'm going to give you what my answer was, and then we're going to check the answer and come back to you. But if you are using a Breaking Tunes profile as one of your active practice qualifiers, so you have an active practice in the commercial music sector, and you use Breaking Tunes as your EPK or as your means to apply for Ireland Music Week, or as your shop window so people can get to your Spotify or your Bandcamp, then use that as your active practice. Also, if multiple people in a band are using the same profile, so if your band name is Cassette Tape and there are 4 of you in the band, in your profile, I would edit your profile before application date and list out the names of people in the band. So because you will be making this application for basic income as an individual and not as a band, so if you are using your Breaking Tunes profile, and the Breaking Tunes profile is breakingtunes.com/cassette tape, then your name has to appear somewhere when the qualifier, the staff in the department clicks through. And your name will have to be the same as if you're using if you apply for a commission or you've gotten festival funding as a band, any evidence you're asking for, any proof of a gig you're asking for from an agent or anything, needs to have all of your names listed on the letter of proof so that all members of the band can use it separately as your evidence of active practice. I hope that makes sense. We'll go over that again in a second, but I would just, as we're on Breaking Tunes here now, I would say a good thing to do is go in and edit your profile to list all the current band member names, or as a way that you can individually prove that you were in that band. Proof that you are currently represented by, for an example, a professional gallery. That's not us. Proof that you have work included in published collections. There was a writer who's in attendance today at this asking if you are published. You may not have published a book yourself, but you could have something in an anthology or something in, say if you're a member of, you use Poetry Ireland as your resource organisation, you're in any of their anthologies, certainly I think that would qualify. Proof that you of published credits for your work in film, theatre, dance, literature from the last 3 years. So again, you're in a short film, make sure your name is on the credits if that's what you're doing, or if you're getting the film company or the theatre company to give you the letter to say you've been in a thing. That's again not largely us. The next one is dance. The next one is proof that you have been selected by a recognized arts organization to take part in an art form showcase, either domestic or international. As active practice, this is where if you have played Ireland Music Week in the last 2 years, so they seem to be covering 24, 25. So if you've played either of those in the last 2 years, or you have gone to anything with Music from Ireland with us. I have submitted a question to see how far back you can go with that. You could be, if you're probably not struggling for a proof of active practice, If you showcased with us 3 years ago, but you've gone on to tour, you've gotten other direct funding from Culture Ireland, their touring funding from Culture Ireland will also qualify you for that income scenario as well. Um, Proof that you've had work commissioned or adapted by a professional theatre, film, or dance company, proof that you have had work performed in a recognised arts venue with a curated programme in the last 3 years. And this is, again, we're back to last 3 years. Um, Proof that you've taken part in curated or programmed in it. Again, that's probably not us. Proof that you have credits for film or theatre work. All of that, IMDb, any of those things will qualify. Um, Other evidence of active practice is membership of organisations, Irish Equity, Contemporary Music Centre, Dance Ireland, IMRO. This is where IMRO and being a member of IMRO or RAP will qualify you as well. So you could have a Breaking Tunes profile, an IMRO membership, and have played Ireland Music Week last year, and those are your three proofs. You could be a member of the Musicians Union of Ireland. There's RAP for us. The Screen Composers Guild, you could be a member of there, and the rest are for people outside of music. Proof of grants or funded residency from arts organisation based in Ireland or abroad. Proof that you are currently receiving artist job seeker allowance. So that is um, it's job seekers that you can apply for as an artist. I'm not aware of many people who are receiving the artist job seeker. So I might just look for clarification on that view. Proof of received royalties for writing for your work. So if you receive publishing royalties for your work from IMRO, again, if you have your own label and you're getting royalties from you're getting those royalties, recorded royalties, then that is also a proof. Now, these aren't all needed. It's any three of all of these. So I think what they're doing here is they've gone out of their way to make sure that if you are in pursuit of a professional career, the qualifying isn't the thing that they want to make hard. It's they want to get as many people qualified as they can. And actually, I think what's amazing about this and what was amazing about doing the pilot at all is I think it really woke the government up to how many professional artists we have in this country, right across the genres. And I think that kind of demand is, even though for our sector in particular, it can be heartbreaking to keep applying for all the grants that are out there and relative to other sectors get less. As FMC, let me tell you, we know what that feels like. But if we're not demanding it, the government and the Arts Council and other funders and other policymakers don't know we need it. So I think it's really important to make sure you at least get an application in here. If you can qualify for three of any of the others. So proof that you have had work reviewed, printed or online. So if you have an Euler 9 review of an album or an EP and a Breaking Tunes profile and are a member of IMRO, there's your three. Proof that you have expenditure on rental of a studio space, say you have a rehearsal space and you have a receipt for that, that's again another qualifier. So I'm just going to take another breath here and see what level of questions we have, Suzette.
Yeah, so there is lots of questions around proofs. Just this one's come up a few times. Do you need one proof of each active practice, income and a membership, or would three from one strand be okay?
Three from one will be okay. So if three of them are active practice and you haven't made any income yet, if three of them are income, then that's brilliant. If one is membership and the other is a Breaking Tunes profile, so active practice, and the other is a grant or a payment for doing a show. Any combo of
Yeah.
those will do.
And just regarding Breaking Tunes as being a qualifier, you don't have to have a Breaking Tunes profile because some people have been like, wait, I need a Breaking Tunes profile. Is this kind of said? You don't have to. We're just saying it can count as one of.
So this is something that um, we brought up after Breaking Tunes wasn't recognized for the pilot. I don't think it was IMRO. And we argued that there could be artists who are at the very emerging stage who may not have collected any royalties yet, might be out there gigging, developing their practice, might have played Ireland Music Week, so therefore would have a Breaking Tunes profile because that's how you apply. But for ourselves, First Music Contact only resources musicians who are creating or working on their own work and actively pursuing a professional career. So in our experience, most professional musicians have at least a Breaking Tunes profile. I think why they have landed on it this time is that it's proof of Irish practice. So you could, say if you could use a Spotify link or SoundCloud or whatever as your EPK, and you may not use Breaking Tunes at all, or you could use your Bandcamp link or whatever. But because this fund is measuring your being based in Ireland, the assumption is if you're a professional musician, you're on breakingtunes.com because that's the road to start. To create a Breaking Tunes profile, all you need is to have your own music, just one track, and you can upload it there, and it has to be original music, and you can create that. And again, if you don't, it's not saying Breaking Tunes, and it's Breaking Tunes is one of the things that you can use. It wasn't something that would used, and we feared that that may have cut some emerging artists out of the picture from the qualifying the last time. So that was kind of us as the resource organisation speaking up for the sector and making sure that all levels of professionals were being considered equally.
Perfect.
So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that's very clear. Just there's a couple of queries around active practices. So say if someone has multiple active practices, like say they're musician, comedian, writer, do they just apply for it under one? Do they list all three? Is that a query we need to come back on? And
I
then,
think maybe I actually my thing there is all the uh, digging I did in prep for today was for musicians and people working in music.
yeah,
So I will be very straight there and say, I'm not sure, but from memory, I think there is a multidisciplinary artist in the drop down.
okay,
So you can then, now what I might check out for you is if you select multidisciplinary, do your proofs have to be right across the multiple disciplines? Or if you select multidisciplinary and your three proofs are music, are you better off applying? So let me check that out. My instinct would be let's go back and see is multidisciplinary a drop down in the draft, and we might
perfect.
be able to answer that before the end of this call.
Perfect. The other one that keeps coming up quite a lot, sorry, there is like over 100 questions.
Okay.
So I'm summarizing some of them. Is there a time frame? Like, does your art have to have been created within the last 3 years?
3 years
Or
is
yeah.
3 years is the evidence they're looking for is active practice in the last 3 years.
So for example, would that mean that someone needs to, if they're using IMRO as a proof, like so proof of if sorry, song registrations, that needs to be from the last 3 years, not before, isn't that right?
I think it's the membership. I don't
Okay.
think it's the song. So if you're putting
Okay.
it in as income, it needs to be a recent royalty check.
Yeah.
But I think you can be a member of IMRO because some people joined IMRO like 5 years ago, but may not have music released. So
Yeah.
being a member of a membership organization is a qualifier.
Yeah. Um, Okay, I'm just going to jump on Sam's one because this is like covering a lot of them, but would these three proofs be okay? Proof of payment from IMRO, proof of playing at like the Greyscape Eurosonic via FMC, and then tour posters that have received funding from Culture Ireland, would they count as proofs?
If it's a tour poster from Culture Ireland, I would put it, and for that a tour, you'd have a number with them. You have an application number that they check everything against. So I would also submit that, the number, the application. But yes, those other two would qualify you.
Um, we're probably going to ask and come back about the PAYE
Yeah,
disability, like
yeah.
any of those queries. That is something that we would need to
There is
check. So
more
there's,
later on about disability, so we
yeah,
will cover that if people can still bear with us. I know this is a lot, but I think it's worth going through if everyone is okay to stay with us for another
yeah,
while.
yeah. And then a few people have asked, so this is cropped up again, but a few people have asked this, are invoices or screenshots valid, or does it have to be specific format of PDF? Is that something we need to?
So what we have had back, for instance, I'll just speak to the qualifier we asked for the letters that we'll be making available. It has to be on our letterhead and has to be saved as a PDF so that it can't be edited.
Yeah, perfect.
So it should be, yeah.
And just one last comment, because I know you want to move on, but just someone asked very early on, is FMC administering the fund or what's our relationship in this?
No,
We are not administering this.
hell
We
no.
no way. We are just the resource organization for the popular music sector. So Angela is we're just providing a service here to try and help people with their applications.
What we want to do with today is get all of and we always say this, there is absolutely no such thing as a silly question. And what we're trying to do is have you teach each other and then have us check back on the questions you might have. And as the resource organization, it's going to be quicker for us to collect all your questions, list them and get answers back, and then distribute them back out to you in a webinar. And this is just something we elected to do today and to do another one before it closes because the only skin really that we have in the game is I was involved in helping get it going. So it's something that's very dear to our heart. But the reason we were so involved is, and I know a number of you will have participate. We did a big piece of research in 2018 where it was one of the main things that the sector asked, could the Irish government at any stage do a basic income that would include artists? And that's where the germ of the idea that this has now come out of came from. And that's why I joined then the NCFA and became their chair because I figured someone should be in there shouting for popular music. But no, we are not administering this fund. But we can help with qualifiers. So with breaking tunes with a letter if you've played Ireland Music Week and a letter if you've received funding from us, from Culture Ireland through us under the Music from Ireland funding.
Just one, sorry, I
No,
won't
it's good.
interrupt.
Yeah.
Just relating to an Ireland Music Week qualifier, for example, I'm assuming they would need a letter from us because that's what
Yeah.
I know we've asked and answered. So a screenshot of the acceptance email will not suffice. They will need a letter from us. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you write to us. So what I'm going to do is at the end, Gustavo is going to put his email in the Q&A box. I'll tell you it now, Gustavo at firstmusiccontact.com. And if you just put in the subject IMW letter or Music from Ireland letter, Gustavo then will start a back end for us where he will list everybody who needs a letter from us. We then have to write them and get them back out to you. So we will get back to you with once you say that and you tell us your name and the band you're in. We probably think about, I mean, Gustavo, your suggestion was if you tell us all the band members, if one of you could write to us, if you're all applying, and one of you could write to us, we'll send you out one, and then all four members of the band can use that letter. So what we will do then is list the band, list your names in the letter and send it back to you, and then all four of you can use that PDF. So if that's something that you're using for a qualifier, get that email into Gustavo earlier rather than later. And what I would ask you to do is nominate one person in the band who will email Gustavo with all the band member names in it. If you're a solo artist, then tell us that in the email as well. And then we will get those out to you in, obviously, we've all the other work as well, but we will get them out to you in time for your application. If that's okay, will I move on?
Yeah,
Still with
go for
us,
it.
everybody? It's awful not being able to see your faces, but I'm assuming everyone's still with us. Yeah, there's still nearly 200 of you still with us, so we'll take that as a good sign. So the process, the application portal will open, as we said, Wednesday, the 15th of April, which is in 2 days' time. The closing date is Tuesday, the 12th of May at 5 p.m. Burn that in your face. Tuesday, 12th of May at 5 p.m. Late or incomplete applications will not be considered. Draft applications won't be considered. All applications will need to have a valid active email address. I know it sounds so obvious, but check and recheck and double check the spelling. I can't tell you how many times I've, with just about to buy a flight and have two M's in music instead of one in First Music Contact. Just double check your phone number, your email address, anything that you're putting a number alongside, quadruple check it. I'm just going to state the obvious, and it's not because I don't think any of you are capable. I'm just going to reiterate the obvious because I think it's really, really helpful. You can only make one application to participate and provide your PPSN. Making multiple applications will disqualify you from the scheme. So that, Suzette, goes back to the pick one practice and apply under that.
Perfect.
And don't apply under multiples. You may save in a draft version of your application before you submit so you can double check it. I think this is a great way of just, sometimes you make an application, then you wake up in the middle of the night and go, did I say this? It's a great alleviator of stress if you save it so that you can check and go, yes, I did say that, and great. A confirmation email will issue detailing your application and your reference number once you've submitted your application in full. Submission of false or misleading information to the department at any stage is treated very seriously and can lead to disqualification from the scheme. I mean, I don't need to spell that out. If you don't qualify, don't apply, would be my advice. Scheme contacts, it's basic income for the arts at cct.gov.ie. Again, and I think they're just reiterating this because I'm sure they've experienced it. The application portal will close at 5 p.m. on the 12th. And applications which are not fully submitted, including the completion of the survey and the upload of your supporting documentation, will not be considered. The basic income for the arts team and anyone on the team may get in contact with you where clarification or further information is needed after the deadline, but only for applications which were received on time. Support with making your application. There's an email if you have if you have a disability or any other accessibility requirements that you log on and the way it's laid out does not suit you, or is or that you can't access it, do email the department directly straight away on the 15th, I would suggest, at basic income for the arts at ccs.gov.ie or via a phone voicemail service that they will have. And I'm just going to say these out for the recording that we're going to circulate. So via, again, if you have any accessibility requirements or issues, via phone on 01643 7714. So those are, if you have any problems, I would say jump into everything on Wednesday, have a look around, and then get questions ready for us for our next meeting. Or if you are having any accessibility requirements whatsoever, use those two modes of um, communication to get in touch with the department directly, and they will then tailor the support to your individual request. If you need someone to complete your forms with you over the phone, again, contact them as soon as possible and absolutely ahead of the application window opening. So if you think now today that you might need help, get in touch with that email or that phone number today. The voicemail service will be operated with priority given to those who will be unable to complete the application without the assistance of the department or those with accessibility needs. So participant notes, those selected, so you've made your applications, you've qualified. Once you're selected, your name will be published. You'll be audited to verified continual eligibility for the payment. So they'll keep checking that your active practice is still in Ireland. They'll keep checking that your bank account is valid. They'll keep checking that you're on the same email. Don't give them an email you're not likely to be on in 6 months' time. And give them your most permanent email. If you're like in a job and your email is job related and you're likely to be moving, give them an alternative email. And the other approved continued eligibility is that you continue to be tax compliant as well. That's another thing they will check. Once selected, recipients that the department is repeatedly unable to make contact with, so in an active or a full email, will be removed from the scheme and replaced with somebody else in the queue. Those selected for the 26 to 29 round, this is something we covered earlier. If you were on the pilot, you can apply for the 26 to 29 round. If you get selected for the 26 to 29 round, you cannot apply for the 30-33 round. It is bonkers to be talking about 2030 as we sit here, but that's the next round after this current one. But then you will be eligible then to apply again for the 2034 to 37 round. And this includes the audits, but then even if you are eligible, because if you're eligible now, you will be eligible then, they will continue to audit that you're still eligible under B and C. The Department of Culture, Communications and Sport expects recipients of the payment to have an active creative practice predominantly based in the Republic of Ireland for the duration of the scheme. There are several requirements of recipients set out below. Audit of survey answers, so you will be required to answer surveys. If not already in place, those selected for payment must register with Revenue Online to become self-employed upon selection for the scheme, obtain an ROS screenshot for set up for your bank account, provide a Form 11 annually from 2027 on to evidence your filing of a tax return reflecting your basic income in that tax return. Consent to your PPS number being shared with Revenue and submitted on the EU State Aid Register for Ireland annually, if required. There will be an annual audit of recipients in which they will need to submit evidence of the data submitted as part of the survey. So the department and the government, where they get the money, will be also auditing that the people they say they're giving the money to are receiving the money. The data use will be for research, to keep clean and transparent the state aid that has been distributed, to check on the validation of proofs that you're still in in practice, but also that those proofs will be shared with Irish arts resource organisations to ensure that only professional artists with active creative practice are selected to receive the payment. And the Basic Income for Artists operations team will have access to all your data submitted by applicants. It includes your full application, your survey data, the personal information needed to process your payments. And they just need to say who will see your data, under the application. The operations team also has access to applicants' contact details, such as email addresses. Those won't be published. Your name, I think, only will be published. Personal data will be sought from you in order to make an application for basic income, including information on your ethnicity, your disability status, your gender and age, in order for them to ensure that there's an equal weighting across those qualifiers. The government, the department has their own targets to meet in terms of like, for instance, the geographical spread, the gender spread, the equal access for those with disabilities, the equal access and representation of new communities in Ireland. So they will run this entire, that's just an indication, they will run this entire scheme under their own EDI practice and policies. And the privacy statement you can read for yourself. And again, these are more when you get it. So the grants of 325 per week will be paid. Payments will be made monthly, not weekly, at a rate of €1,413.21. Payment to recipients will begin by the end of the year and will be backdated to September 2026. So you'll be September 2026 to September 27 is year one, September 27 to September 28 is year two, and September 28 to September 29 is year three. I hope that's clear. Your tax clearant, a person who is not tax cleared cannot receive a payment from the department. 8 weeks grace, which is, allowing you to catch up in 2 payments, will be given to allow you time to organise your tax clearant, after which you must or at least have 6 months without the tax clearant. The recipient will be removed from the scheme and no further or backdated payments will be made. Again, just keep yourself actively in practice, keep yourself actively compliant with tax payments. Tax and social welfare treatment of payments. Basic income payments are reckonable for the purpose of income tax. All successful participants will need to register with Revenue as self-employed and pay Schedule D income tax where appropriate on the Basic Income for Arts grant payment. So that is if you are selected, they will go through all of that with you. Income from the pilot will be liable for Class S PRSI. The Department of Social Protection, you can read that again. This is I want to make sure we give this time to the eligibility first, and then there's further engagement with the department, or we can help you again if you do get selected and you're having issues with any of this. There's appeals could be made on the process only. You can't appeal who gets selected and who doesn't. It's a random testing and it's weighted and it's witnessed by, I think, KP. The pilot was witnessed by KPMG. Failure to upload sufficient evidence of eligible practice of time of applying is not grounds for your appeal. So say you went to upload your third piece of proof at 5+5 on May 12th, you can't appeal that. Who can make an appeal? An appeal can be made by an applicant if the applicant considers that the process for reviewing was not adhered to. The applicant must be in receipt of a decision email from Basic Income for the Arts team in order to make an appeal. And that's then further on how to appeal. So just quick notes here on interaction with social protection. Artists in receipt of social welfare payments, including those on disability allowance and incapacity benefit, are welcome and eligible to apply. So that answers, Suzette, all of those questions, I think. on if I'm on social welfare, or if I'm on back to work or whatever you're on, can I apply? Yes, you just need your three proofs too. So you can. The Department of Social Protection will treat income from the scheme as income from self-employment for the purpose of its own means testing. This means that where a scheme includes a disregard of a certain amount of income from self-employment, that disregard will be applied to income for the basic income for the art scheme. So the hope there is you don't lose out. The impact on a person's social welfare entitlements will depend on an individual's own circumstances. So, for example, your household income, your other sources of income, that's for other entitlements that you get from social protection. The basic income will you can if you're on the dole, but then if you get the basic income, you I think automatically come off the dole, but being on the dole doesn't make you ineligible to apply, if that makes sense. Applicants who are selected to receive the payment are advised to engage with the Department of Social Protection to determine the impact on your own social welfare payments if you were to receive payment before accepting an offer to participate. Most of your social protection websites or citizens information will be able to answer those for you. We will probably run a similar webinar for those who get the musicians who get selected and help you run through those criteria before you receive. So just to know that we're here. Will people on disability allowance from the Department of Social Protection lose their benefits? No, not necessarily. The Department of Social Protection will treat the payment as earnings from self-employment. The impact that this payment will have on a person's disability allowance will depend on each individual circumstances as they need to engage. And then I think you would engage in the way you would if you were getting money from social protection for disability allowance and making any other incomes, they would be treated. So your basic income would be treated as an income in those situations. So the same activity that applies under your current other income would also apply here. So I feel like we're starting to lose people. So I'm going to stop the share here and take a quick look at the Q&A.
So some of these you've answered live, and obviously we're coming on to an hour and a half of this. So
yeah,
some of them obviously regarding disability, there was lots of queries around disability.
So you can get disability
Yeah.
and basic income, but you need to check with the Department of Social Protection about how much. It will be treated like any other income. So you can currently, for instance, get disability allowance and other income, but you then do have a question when it comes to thresholds. And those thresholds vary on what kind of social protection you're on. And again, not being on it doesn't mean that you can't apply. What my advice would be if you want to be on this, apply and qualify first, and then you can interrogate which makes you better off after if you get accepted. And I think judging on what they did with the pilot, the department did a lot of work in making sure that people got the best possible outcomes from being involved. Can you apply if you're still in college, graduating this year? I think that's a question. I don't think you can. I think if you're qualifying in May or before May 12th, let me check that. I think you have to have qualified in 24 or 25 because that was specific in the notes. So let me check that, Emily, and we'll come back to you.
And someone saying if you're not picked for this round, will the next round, I know you've covered this already, but will the next round be 2030 to 2033. We don't know when the next round will be, but yes, there won't be another one in
Well, what's
2027.
because the government has said the word permanent, there will be a next round from 2030 to
Mhm.
2033. So
But there
if
won't be
you
one in 2027 is also what, so say if
no,
you, yeah.
no. So it'll run in 3-year cycles.
Hmm.
So the next three basically, so once you get on it this time, you're on it for 3 years. And if you're eligible but don't get selected this time, you're eligible to apply again in 2030 after this one finishes.
Some people had asked, because we chatted about breaking tunes, is how to use that as a qualifier. Would that be a link, a screenshot of profile?
I think we might, in the next meeting at the start of May, go through the application form together.
Yeah.
And judging from um, the last application for the pilot, it's a drop-down menu, and if they've listed it in the qualifying criteria, it will exist in a drop-down menu. So I'd imagine you would select Breaking Tunes, and then now we're speaking kind of in the dark because it doesn't open till Wednesday. But the demand from the sector, we were getting so many emails that people wanted some information ahead of the opening, that's why we held this webinar today, and that we're going to hold another one at the start of May, so that if you are having problems with the application form, we can go through it with you, and we can go through with it live. And also when we go through it ourselves on Wednesday, we'll have a better idea on how to answer your questions in the next webinar as well.
I'm just wondering because we have a lot of questions, but some of them can be summarized. So do we want to check in about some of them and then potentially email some of the answers out? Like, as we're going to do a follow-up email to all of the attendees today, so we'll send out what email,
Yeah.
to kind of summarize,
Um,
or yeah,
I
what do
could
you think?
do some now if people still want to stay on. I want to use my IMRO membership as proof. How should I submit this? Again, it will give you the opportunity in a drop-down menu, I would imagine. Would playing all together now, or Electric Picnic, or other summer festivals count as active practice, or would it need to be Ireland Music Week showcase type events? No, it can be any of those. So if you have if you're on a poster, you could have a digital evidence of that. They allow you upload those. So if you're on a poster, or if you have a booking, uh, um, a booking email or on letterhead from an Electric Picnic or an All Together Now email, again, they will check. So if you, they probably will ask you to provide the supplier or the booker, um, or you. I'm just wanted to check here if they've come back to me while I've been on to you. Um, no. Just I wanted to give any questions, but yeah, I would say a letter from those or your agent listing what festivals you've qualified for. And again, I would imagine we'll know more about this when we go in to the application, but I'd imagine that's going to be self-evident, and that there will be an opportunity to have a drop down and upload that proof. Um, Again, all those proofs, the incomes as a matter of sending a screenshot of your bank account payment, I think it's going to be more, it's the second there, it's going to be your IMRO statement. Um, for the evidence of Irish funding body, we received funding from Culture Ireland for our bank to go on tour. However, the receipt is made out to only one bandmate. Is that valid to submit as proof, or is further action necessary? So in that situation, Jack, you would have received the tour, and in your application, you would have been asked to list the band members, and in your receipts, you would have been asked to submit the band member names as well. So the application will hold all the band number names in it. So if you submit the application number for the successful touring grant, they will have all the band member numbers in that application. So each of you can submit that application number and just also evidence that you are in that band, if that makes sense. Claire, as traditional Irish singers, there aren't many organisations that cover us, and there isn't really a working musicians union. I'm not a composer. I'm wondering if the professional organisations will be a stumbling block for me. Again, Claire, what I would look at is there are multiple ways to point to active practice, and being in a member organisation is only one of those. You could list any grant you've gotten, you could list a number of gigs you've done, and you could list if you're in an ensemble or if you have other recommends it. You don't have to be qualified by an organization. Those are some of the options, but no one of the listed criteria are compulsory. They're just giving you the number of different ways that you can qualify to show them your active practice. I hope that answers for you. Lucy, to be clear, you're allowed to work full or part-time at the same time. The whole idea behind it, Lucy, is that basic income is your baseline. So say you're working full-time in music, and so this isn't designed to support people who are in music as a hobby alongside a professional full-time other career. This is designed to support artists whose income from their music work for the rest of their time over these 3 years is precarious, but that their dominant employment or their dominant work activity is in arts practice. So if you're on tour and full-time, or if you're working part-time to support your arts practice, or say if you're doing workshops or teaching workshops in your practice as another part of working, then that's fine as well. But it's not designed for people who are like full-time in one career and then music is a second career. It's designed to benefit more the artist whose income from their art form or their arts practice is precarious. I hope that answers your question. If you're part of basic income, can you use that payment as one of the proofs of payment? Oh my God, that's a very meta question. And yes, I would think so. I will definitely check it for you. But yes, I would imagine so, because it means you qualified. But if you qualified the first time, there are probably other proofs of practice. But I would think absolutely, yes, it's proof of being a professional artist, because they've actually told you you are. So it's probably the strongest proof of practice, or one of them. Shane, are invoices of work, studio live performance counted as professional work? Yes. As a session musician, I must always invoice clients. I think I would think it's more the payment coming the other way, or just the listing or the proof that the work happened. So it's back to credits there, that you're credited somewhere, listed somewhere. A membership of RAP would also be really good for you if you're a session musician. Would be another good way of demonstrating that, Shane. Live performance evidence would be good. Studio hire payments, that kind of stuff would also be good. Is proof of practice not for the last 3 years? Yes, it is. What if I'm part of a band that has been funded by Culture Ireland, but I don't care? Yeah, Dylan, that's absolutely, again, if you got funded through Music from Ireland, we will list all the band names as you tell us them. If you received funding from Music from Ireland for touring, your name would have been in the application number, and the receipts from your flights for the tours, or from whatever else that you got funded for, will be in that application. So in that situation, the band name and the application number from Culture Ireland will suffice. do you know what the deciding factor will be? For example, if 4,000 people are eligible, is it a lottery? No matter how many people are deemed eligible, the choosing the 2,000 is a lottery decision. So there's no um, uh, other factors that it's based on. It's once you've qualified, the only hurdle you have is to qualify as a professional artist. After that, it's then a lottery. So there is no other qualifier beneath that. It's not a competitive. It's competitive in that it's a lottery to get picked, but it's not competitive as in it's you against somebody else, like some other grants. It's not like it's, the touring grants that are available at Culture Ireland, they themselves are competitive. You could have a very good application, but someone else's could have been under the current criteria deemed better. That doesn't apply here. Once you qualify as an artist, you are entered into the lottery. How recent does your Ireland Music Week performance have to have been relevant? 3 years is what they've outlined themselves there. I'm going to quadruple check that. Hard Working Class Heroes was 8 years ago. If you're still in recent practice, I would maybe use other active practice qualifiers instead. Maybe your Breaking Tunes profile, maybe your IMRO membership. I think they were looking at the last 3 years. I can qualify that for our next meeting, but Hard Working Class Heroes was, I think, 7 or 8 years ago now at this stage, so that might be too far back. I'm a recent graduate of a postgrad diploma in scoring for film and now scoring my first independent short film. Yes, both of those I think would be suitable evidence of professional, both the commission for the score itself and the graduation. But as a graduate, you only need one qualifier. So it would be worth going back and just reading that again. You only need one qualifier to be weighted as a graduate. I received some small grant money in 2024. Zeitgeist Ireland would absolutely qualify as eligible. It was 24, which is, yeah, so just email Gustavo at firstmusiccontact.com and just tell him the event. We'll double check it. They will double check it with us and just make sure we have the names of all the people in the band. Can all three eligibility proofs be from Irish organisation memberships? Yes, I think so. So if you're CMC, IMRO and RAP, yeah, I think you can be, yeah. I'll check that out. If you're a member of a band, how are you applying for yourself? If you're a member of a band, so you will apply under your own name, and then you will say, I'd imagine we haven't seen the new form. I don't know if it's different to the original one. So we'll wait and see. We'll all have a look Wednesday and we'll have a look together in the next webinar. But I would say that you apply as yourself. I know there are multiple people who, all 4 people in the band applied and 1 person got it. The qualifiers is what we're applying. If you're applying for yourself, you're not qualifying, you're not applying for the other members in the band, but the band might be what's registered on Breaking Tunes or what's you might be registered under the band name. So you would use your activity name and then just indicate that you're a member of that band, so that then the letters anybody sends you will have X band did this and these are their members. I hope that's I'm officially registered as a graphic designer on ROS, but I'm also a professional musician and illustrator. Should I change this for my application? I don't know if you, Sarah, have to change it for your application. You may have to change it if you get selected. The application is just to qualify. Let me check that. I will ask that as one of our questions. And I will come back to you. This is great. I'm delighted we're doing 2 now because there's a lot of great questions coming in. If your main practice is running a band, if your practice isn't artistic. So this is something we hope when basic income, and I keep saying when and not if, when basic income becomes automatic and for everyone, we did lobby for it to be for artists and arts workers, and then managers and labels and tour managers and stuff, sound engineers that would apply. Right now, it's artists only. So if your main practice is running the band or managing the band and you're not a performer or contributing to the writing of that band, then you don't qualify. Um, if you're not in active, if you're not, if you can't demonstrate active arts practice in Ireland. I'm a member of PRS, but my registered address is in Ireland. Would this be valid if I can get a certificate of membership? It does state that the membership needs to be from Irish organizations. So I would just say look for three other proofs. So the member of the Collection Society isn't going to be it. Um, uh, if you're based in Ireland and your arts practice is in Ireland, there are going to be other ways that you can do that. But as far as I know, and reading and rereading their notes, they do quite clearly say that they will check with Irish organizations so that they need the proof to be membership of Irish membership organizations. And I know that's a nuance that because I know PRS do have some Irish members, and both IMRO and PRS are active in Northern Ireland. This is just about the Republic. So I would be almost positive, Timothy, that the answer to that is no, and I would suggest you look for other proofs, but I can get a qualifier for that on you, but I'd be quite sure that that's a no. Oren, do you know if recipients need to be self-employed explicitly as registered sole traders, or would being a director of a registered company cover? That's a question we put in this morning, Oren. So I would hazard a guess that it because they say it so straightforwardly that you're self-employed, um, that and you're paying tax. All they want to know is that you're paying tax. I can um, ask that because what's really challenging here is that question has coming up now under the Curzon rule for whether people are registered properly with revenue, and it could be that your band is a CLG as artists, and you pay tax that way. I think they just want to see you're paying tax is what I feel. That doesn't matter at this stage. Not that it doesn't matter, but it isn't one of the qualifying criteria. That's something they want from you once you get selected. But definitely we'll get that's come up a couple of times, and that's one of our questions that went into them this morning. So we will come back to you on that, Oren. If I qualify for both the graduate stream and the regular stream, which should I apply for? I think that's up to you. You can't apply twice, whichever one you feel most confident in. That would be, I couldn't possibly give you advice there, but I think there would possibly be, I don't know, the lotto. I don't play the lotto, but I think numbers wise is probably, I don't know. Is there a better chance if you apply? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want you to take anything. This isn't legal advice. This is just helping you through the form. So I couldn't possibly make that call for you. I'm so sorry. But hopefully some of the things we've answered today have made making that decision a little clearer. So hopefully it has. If I decide to leave a country in a year or so and being self-employed, does it mean singing workshops and doing self-employed? Elizabeth, I think judging by their own criteria, they will reassess you for eligibility. So if you leave the country in year 2 and your arts practice isn't predominantly in Ireland, I think that disqualifies you off the scheme. That would be my reading of that. We've covered there the job seekers allowance, so they have their rules for that. job seekers, if you're on job seekers, you can apply. It's what you do then if you're selected, and what you do in that situation to be better off yourself if you get offered it. And that will be a you decision, but you can apply um, if you're on any of those loans. Again, with the screenshots, we'll have to wait till we see the questions on the 5th, so we'll definitely come back to that.
We were just going to note because there's like 184 questions. So
Okay.
and it's 10 to 6. So it's been an hour
Oh,
and
okay.
50 minutes. So I think we probably wrap this up and then we can
Okay.
summarize and answer an email. It's
I
been
think
really,
most of them are starting to repeat
yeah,
anyway.
I think
Yeah,
so. I think
yeah.
so. But there are some that we need to check, and the team here have taken down all queries just so we can make sure that not if anything has been missed live, that we can cover
Okay.
it and
Great.
discuss a way which is what is best to kind of distribute it.
Yeah. Okay, so if that is, so we will try and answer all of these on the next one. What I would suggest is we will get in touch with you and make sure you're following us on socials, or you've registered for our newsletter. And we'll send you out when we've edited this, we'll send you out a copy of it so that you can listen back if there's anything you've missed. We will compile, as Suzette says, those questions and get answers, give the department a couple of weeks to get back to us with answers. And we will send you all out a notification of the next meeting. So I hope that helped. And we'll let you all go and have your dinner. You're very welcome. I hope it helped, and I hope it helped to clear any misconceptions with you. And I think we'll just dig in the next layer now together. But if you are beginning to see that now how clear all of these proof of eligibility are and stuff, start selecting them, and then we will look at the application together in early May. We'll probably do it the Tuesday after the bank holiday, um, around the same time, maybe around 4 o'clock. Suzette, do you think that would work? Yeah, so
Yeah,
but
that
we'll
sounds
send you
good.
out a notification to register anyway. The recording will be available tomorrow morning. We're finished at 6, so we'll download it tonight and clean it up a bit in the morning and hopefully get it out to you by lunchtime tomorrow. Okay, everyone, have a good evening.